Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I don't know if you've noticed, but there has been a lot of very highly anticipated new releases that have come out recently. So I thought that we would make a how many new releases can I read in a week video, because I need to have an excuse to read them all. This is starting on a Wednesday, and I am thinking of reading Sunrise on the Reaping first. So let's get into it. It is day 2 of reading Sunrise on the Reaping, and I am 135 pages in. I did expect to read all of this yesterday, to be honest, but last minute I went out and did some photography for a gig my friends were doing, so didn't get there, but I think today I will be able to read the rest of it. The only thing is I do have to do a stats test online at some point today before 8 p.m. and I'm sure that I can get this done today. Let's keep reading. This is insane. Just when you thought that the Hunger Games story could not get any more messed up, I am not okay. Basically, what Snow did with Luella, I have no words. I don't think I've ever cried this much from a book before. I need to get it together because I'm only 136 pages in. I knew that Haymitch's story was messed up, and it had to be because of what happened to him, like later on, how he is, but wow. This is a story I've been anticipating for a long time because Haymitch is my favourite non-main character in the Hunger Games series, and it is just so interesting to see who he was before the games and what made him change. Let's keep reading. Okay. I have it together. I have it together. A couple of hours ago, we had a clear direction, but Snow's gift has reminded us of our frailty and the futility of opposing him. It's so sad to think about how long Haymitch was living in the Victor's village by himself, because it says here, the village was built after our lone Victor though, so no one's ever lived in it. Which makes sense because Lucy Greybeard, I think she was the 10th Hunger Games, and you can see the evolution through what the Hunger Games are in the original series compared to going back to Lucy Greybeard's games and then Haymitch's games, the development of like technology and stuff. I was not ready for this book. I honestly, I knew it was going to be sad, but I did not know it was going to be this sad. I'm on page 304, and I think possibly that we might be coming to the part of the story that we all know, which is how Haymitch wins the game. Let's see, let's read this. It says there's an hour left of the book, so... I finished Sunrise on the Reaping yesterday, and people who warned me were not wrong. It did break my heart, and I think that it was I think it has to be a 5-star book, because you saw I was crying on the first page. So this, like I said earlier, has been my most anticipated book ever, because Haymitch is my favourite character. I think he is so interesting, and I just wanted to know more, basically. And I think a lot of people did, because not only was he part of the second Quarter Quell, he just had so much depth and story that we did not know. Something about this story that I loved was how much of other people's stories we got too, like Wiress, Beatty, Mags. I loved it so much. Yeah, basically this book broke my heart, and I loved it. I loved Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, but I was more interested in this story. But now, having got this one, I can understand why that one needed to come first, because it just... I thought that that one was messed up, knowing that the information from the original trilogy, but oh my god. No wonder. Now, I cannot wait for this movie. It comes out November 2026, I believe, so I have to wait so long. This book broke my heart, so I'm thinking for the next book that I read, it should be something not so heavy maybe, and I'm also thinking something that's not in the fantasy or dystopian genre, because the last few books I've read have been in that genre. So I am thinking of picking up an Emily Henry new release. The book I am going to be reading next is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I love Emily Henry. I'm gonna read it on my Kindle. 420 pages. That is a good amount of pages. It's more than a usual book. It's not short, but it's not overly long either. So this should be a nice break from the fantasy and dystopian books I've been reading. I anticipate that this should be a very highly rated book for me because I have read 2 Emily Henry books so far, and that is Book Lovers and Happy Place, and both of those have been 6-star reads. So this one's a highly anticipated book for me. Let's get reading. This is one of my other favourite energy drinks. As you probably know by now, the green V is my favourite energy drink, but V can be a little bit expensive. I can only really get it when it's on like a 2 for something deal. So Live Plus, good stuff. I just got to chapter 2. Don't mind the controller sounds, Toby is gaming. We are the classic reader girlfriend, gamer boyfriend. It is how it is. Basically, I like to go into books without reading the synopsis. So if this is part of the synopsis, then just, yeah, but basically I'm just saying I don't read that because I like to go in a little bit blind. So the first chapter, I think we've just met the love interest, and I think that they're gonna have to work together. So that is my theory so far. But let's keep reading and see where this goes. I'm excited. I am so happy to be back into Emily Henry's writing. I love the female main character already. The way that she's written is so relatable. She's met the person that she possibly is going to do a story on, and she just says, "You're her." And then it goes on to say, "Every eloquent or even serviceable sentence I've ever put together has been typed out slowly over time. The ones that come directly from my mouth usually sound more like this." And I think that's so funny and so relatable. Chapter 2. I love how she's a talker and he's grumpy, cynical, doesn't really say much. Always thinks the worst. This bit was so relatable. I don't drink coffee, but I drink a lot of energy drinks. And she just said, "This is a kind of headache I am all too familiar with, caffeine withdrawal." That is very relatable. I'm just over 50% through the book, and I'm quite enjoying it so far. I don't think it'll be rated as highly as the other Emily Henry books I've read, but that doesn't mean that I'm not enjoying it. I'm just not quite getting the same feeling as I did when I read Happy Place and Book Lovers, but I'm still having a good time. So I just thought I'd come on here and give a little update, and I'm hoping to finish the book before I go to sleep, so we better keep reading. I just finished Great Big Beautiful Life, and I have to say I did like it, but nowhere near as much as the other Emily Henry books I've read. I think that I would rate this one a 3.75 because I did like the romance storyline, but I wasn't necessarily fully invested in the main storyline, which is a shame. I can see how other people would love it, but this book just obviously wasn't written for me. Yeah, it's not bad at all. I still really enjoyed it, but I think that the main story just, yeah, it wasn't for me, but I can see it was well written and other people would absolutely love it. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, for me it was a 3.75 because I thought that the romance plot was really nice. But now it is time to go on to the next book. I'm thinking that I will go back to fantasy and read the new Lauren Roberts book, Fearless. This one is very highly anticipated for me. I love the Powerless series. I did enjoy Reckless, but the way I describe it, it was very much a middle book in a trilogy. And that doesn't mean it's bad. I still rated it really highly. I just feel like to enjoy that book more, I need the context of the last book in the trilogy. And to be fair, the way that Reckless ended, I need to know what happens next. So let's get onto that book, shall we? Let's get into this book. I anticipate a 5-star because the first book was a 5-star. The middle one, I don't remember what I rated it. Probably a 3.75 or a 4. I think I bumped up to a 4 because of the ending, but that is very common for me in like the middle book of a series. But I am so excited to read this, and just look at that cover. It is gorgeous. The pink is so cute. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'd forgotten how well written Kai is. I think that he has the most poetic voice. He says, "I've been nothing but willing when it comes to drowning in those ocean eyes, but now I can't fathom drowning if she's not the anchor I'm sinking with." I just love his dialogue, and I think that is probably a very common thing to say, but I have already highlighted and underlined so much. This is the first page of Kai's point of view. I am already back in this world. We are back, baby. I've just gotten to page 302 of Fearless, and that is about halfway. And so far, I'm very much enjoying it. It is so nice to be back in the world of the Powerless series. I'm a huge fan of the series, and it seems that I was correct in saying that I would enjoy the story of Reckless more with the context of this, because I am only halfway and I'm understanding and accepting of that story more now, especially probably because there is less animosity and Kit is getting some redemption, I guess. In terms of the writing itself, I love the way that Lauren Roberts writes. It's almost poetic, and she has such a specific voice that I've never read any other author write like this before, especially when there's the chapters in Kai's point of view. His point of view is particularly poetic, and I love when I go onto a chapter and it is in Kai's point of view. In this book, we actually get some of the previous king, Edric's story, and it is fascinating. I didn't expect to get part of his point of view. Well, it's not necessarily his point of view, it's more just telling his story. And there is information that the princes and the new king don't know. I particularly thought this bit was interesting on page 80. I underlined this, and it says, "Cruelty molded him into a king, where kindness would have only crippled him." And I found that really interesting because that was what apparently his father was like to him. So it kind of makes sense that he would put that onto his children as well, but that doesn't obviously mean that he was a good person. And there was some of Kai's quotes that I also wanted to mention because I absolutely love the way that he is voiced. On page 128, I put a little note down that I wanted to talk about this line. This is in Kai's point of view. So Heath is thinking, "I would have stood at the edge of that desert until she walked back into my arms. That is, if I weren't the enforcer of Ilia. Guard rotations, training schedules, and safety precautions beg for my attention, but only one thing holds it, her." And I just think that's a really sweet little paragraph. There is a bit where he says, "I'm breathless at the sight of her, doomed by the hope of having her. It's a beautiful ruin, a devastating devotion. This girl holds my heart in her hands and could crush it between her fingers and still have me thanking her for the touch." I honestly just am amazed by Lauren Roberts' writing. There's not really much else I can say about that. It is, like I said, just... I've never read anything like it before. I have just gotten up to the bit where they have returned from a quest, I guess, in a way. It's the best way I can describe it without saying too much. And surprisingly, Kit has had some redemption. I'm honestly fighting with myself because I only started this last night, and I'm fighting between the urge of reading this as quick as I can because I've been waiting for it and just anticipating this so much, but also wanting to savor it because this is the last book in the series. I think that just reading it as quick as I can is honestly winning, so... Okay, I have officially finished all 3 books for this video. I started this video on a Wednesday, and by Sunday that week I had read Sunrise on the Reaping, A Great Big Beautiful Life, and up until page 451 of Fearless. So realistically I didn't have much left. There was under 100 pages, but then I got stressed out about the series ending. I was just not ready to know how it ended yet, and because of this I didn't pick the book up for like 2 weeks. So because I had so little left, I'm going to pretend that we did finish all of these in 1 week, because there was still 3 more days. I would have definitely finished that in 3 days if I read this, and up until here in 4 days. So let's just pretend for the sake of the title of this video. Okay, so I'm just going to give some like brief finishing thoughts on these books. So this one, I am happy with the ending. I really love this series. I did see a post before I read this saying how the ending was bittersweet, and boy was it. There will be probably people who don't like the ending of this, but majority I would say would find it bittersweet. I don't really have much more to say about this one. I was super sad that this series was ending, but then I found out that Lauren Roberts is planning to do at least 1 novella for this series. So it is the end of this story technically, but there will be little stories, and I am happy with that. So I am going to rate this a 5. I loved the adventure aspects of it, and it was just a really, I don't know if I can say fun isn't the right word, but I had a good time reading it. A lot of ups and downs, and yeah, if you've read this, you'll know what I mean by all of this. For A Great Big Beautiful Life, I did a bit of digging afterwards because I was curious what other people's opinions on the book were after they read it. And it seems like most Emily Henry fans, like people who anticipate every, I think it's April, her new book, a lot of people seem to have the same opinion as me, where it just wasn't their favourite Emily Henry book. It was more on the, I think it's literary women's fiction side of things, and that is great for people who love that. I think that this book will expand Emily Henry's audience a little bit, and yeah, it was a good book. Since I was picking up an Emily Henry to read like a classic Emily Henry, it was a bit different than I was expecting, but that isn't a bad thing. The first line I really liked. I even underlined it, so hey, like I said, it was still a really good book, good read. It says, "There's an old saying about stories and how there are always 3 versions of them. Yours, mine, and the truth." I really liked that. You can see that I like Emily Henry because I have this quote from Happy Place on my Kindle. I think it is going to be a 3.5. That is my final rating of this book, but I look forward to seeing people who really love that genre, seeing their thoughts on it. And to finish up, we had Sunrise on the Reaping. Now, I don't have much to say about this because I didn't have any issues with this book. I don't want to think about if there was any issues with this book. I just want to enjoy it. And I'm very excited for the movie. The cast that has been released is perfect, especially Maya Hawke for Wiress. When I saw that, I was like, that is just perfect. This was a great addition to the story, and for that reason it is another 5 stars. But anyway, here are the books I read in this week. I'm very happy to have gotten to all of these because they were so highly anticipated for me that yeah, like I said, I was overwhelmed. I didn't know where to start. So I'm glad to have these done with 2 5 stars. I will see you next time. See you later.